you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Living the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego. And in today's episode, we're going to touch on a handful of topics that I found interesting this week. The goal of the Living the Dream podcast was to let us do all the dirty work when it comes to learning about all things health, fitness, and wellness. Let us search through what all the experts are saying and let us do the research. And then in turn, we then share it with the Living the Dream team. We teach what is most applicable and helpful to you, the busy listener. So today we're going to cover a few of those things while I've been on the path to being a lifelong learner. And instead of being a masterclass episode where I break down a topic into a deep dive, I'm just going to give a little bit of the Cliff Notes highlights of what I've learned this week. And then I'll attach the source from where the content came from, just in case you wanted to learn a little bit more. In this episode, we're going to talk about a book that I'm finishing up right now. The title is Burn. New research blows the lid off of how we really burn calories, stay healthy, and lose weight. And this is by one of the main researchers of the Hadza Tribe. If you follow any research studies on metabolism, calorie burn, or anything having to do with energy expenditure, you'll most definitely have heard of the Hadza Tribe. Dr. Herman Pontzer wrote this book breaking down everything that he learned from all of his years of observing and studying and testing these modern day hunter-gatherers. In one of the chapters, he gave a really beautiful analogy of just how your body burns energy and how it can compare to running a business. And I thought it was a great, simple breakdown that the average person could understand. The next thing that I wanted to touch on is something called a metabolic set point. If there's someone in your life that you see consuming more food than you, maybe they eat out, maybe they drink a ton of alcohol, and you're over here dieting and eating healthy, and maybe that person even exercises less than you, and they still have no body fat, they're skinny, and for just the life of you, you can't figure out why. Well, this could possibly be due to something called the metabolic set point. Your body loves a thing called homeostasis. You sweat when you increase in temperature to cool you back off. And then you shiver to do the opposite reason. Your body loves to be at a certain pH alkaline level. It actually likes to be around 7.35 to 7.45. And if you deviate out of that range, it does everything in its power to maintain homeostasis and to get it back to that level. Your body also has an internal energy regulator, the hypothalamus in the brain. It's a key brain region in the regulation of energy balance, and it controls your food intake and both how you store energy and how you expend energy through the integration of many different factors, and I'll go into it a little bit later. We're going to talk about how this process could be the answer to why your friend and you are so different. I also wanted to share 13 steps that Thomas DeLauer uses to stay under 8% body fat all year round. Thomas DeLauer, he's a pretty prominent figure on YouTube and social media platforms who shares actually some really good content. He's known for his knowledge on fasting and the keto diet, and he likes to call it being fat adapted. But even if you're not keto, these 13 steps were super interesting to listen to and great information to know if you're trying to get to a lower body fat percentage. We're going to quickly go over the 13 steps, but of course, I'll include the link to the full video in the description of this episode with all the other links. And then lastly, I want to go over and share one of my favorite hormone experts, Dan Garner, and his philosophy on how motivation and willpower might not be the best way to chase your health goals, and what he thinks are the best character traits that allow you to achieve the things that you want out of life. But before we get to the topic of the day, I want to start by thanking the sponsors of this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by a new thing that I came up with this year called the Accountability Club. Very rarely do weight loss challenges or competitions work. I found it's way more important to focus on lifestyle, behavior, and habits. This Accountability Club, we go along with the 52 Living the Dream mini-sodes. one at a time, 1 week after another week. We set small, attainable goals, and then the club holds every single person accountable through public tracking, through a group thread where we all can communicate, and then I also sprinkle in a little human psychology to get some skin in the game. Each person decides at what level they want to participate, and then they buy in. If they do not achieve their goals, they have to keep paying the club a monthly due until they hit their goals. They're rewarded by hitting their goals by having their monthly due waived. We will open up room for new club members every month. If this sounds like something that would be of interest to you, send me a message and I'll send you more info on how to start. You don't have to be one of our gym members. You don't even have to be in San Diego. You can do it from anywhere. So thank you, Accountability Club, for sponsoring this episode. And another one of our sponsors is the music app Brain.fm. Use Brain.fm's functional music to help you focus, relax, meditate, and sleep better. This uses cutting-edge neuroscience to get you the results that you're after. I used Brain FM for years before I partnered with them. I truly believe in their product, and I use it anytime that I'm creating an episode for this podcast. I also listen to their deep sleep music every single night. I don't miss a night. My Oura Ring tracks my sleep data, and the difference is notable. So download the app on any of your app stores and use the discount code CoachDamien_SD to try the first month for free and a discount off of your first month if you decide to continue on with your subscription. And this week's 5-star review comes from PR Wallace 8. PR Wallace 8 says, I've been listening to Damien for a couple years now. Each episode really brings in-depth knowledge that I can incorporate into my everyday life. But more importantly, I love his positive attitude and gentle motivation to have us all live a healthier life. Thank you for all you do, Coach D. Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your support and kind words. If everyone else would do me a favor, if you haven't already, while you're listening to this episode, if you haven't subscribed yet, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please take a second to subscribe to this podcast. It's going to give you notifications anytime I release an episode, but it also shows more people that this podcast is worth a listen to them. And then you could scroll down and leave me a 5-star review if you feel that we've earned it. I read every single one, and I appreciate the love and feedback. And now on to the topic of the day. This week, I just finished listening to an audiobook from Dr. Herman Pontzer. It's titled Burn. New research blows the lid off of how we really burn calories, stay healthy, and lose weight. This book explored the latest research on energy expenditure and metabolism. The book covers the science behind how our bodies burn calories and how much energy we use throughout the day. It also explores the role that diet and exercise play in regulating metabolism and maintaining a healthy weight. The author uses his own paradigm-shattering research to challenge commonly held beliefs about weight loss and to offer practical advice for improving metabolism and losing weight. One of the sections in the book is labeled The Brains Behind the Operation, and Dr. Pontzer used a really great analogy that I wanted to share. So it went like this, quote, with all the evidence that our bodies respond dynamically to change in physical activity and diet, we need a new way of thinking about our metabolic engines. The current consensus in metabolism, the armchair engineer's view, assumes that the body is a simple machine. The more work it does, the more energy it burns. And the more energy it burns, the less fuel or fat it will carry. And we've just seen that that's not how it works. The body is clever and flexible in how it burns energy. It does things that simple engines cannot. So we need a better metaphor. To make sense of metabolism, we need to think of the body like a business. The business is the product of evolution, and therefore it really only has one goal: reproduction. But like any big business, it has lots of operations in support. Organized into various organs and physiological systems, there are 37 trillion employees, the cells, hard at work every day doing their part. And calories are the currency for all the transactions that are happening. Calories. Energy comes in with the food that we eat and is allocated to each of the support systems and their employees as needed. If there's any extra, it's then deposited into a checking account for quick access, and this is called glycogen, or into our savings, which is called fat. A strict and heartless Darwinian manager keeps an eye on the budget, watching energy coming in and energy going out. More energy coming in than going out is generally a good thing. It keeps the business balance sheets in the black and allows the manager to allocate more energy to systems that can use it. But more energy going out than going in is cause for a concern. If a deficit is too severe or it persists too long, the manager will take action and change how energy is spent in the business. In general, keeping a balanced budget means keeping daily energy expenditure equal to the amount of food energy that is dependably available from the environment. Most of the time in the industrialized world, the body is not directly involved in reproduction. Sex, pregnancy, nursing, most of the time it's not. But that hardly matters. The business needs to be ready. And so the support systems need to be kept humming. Just keeping all 37 trillion of your employees fed and functioning is a major undertaking. Interacting with the outside world requires the coordinated efforts of your muscles, nerves, brain, heart, and lungs. Defense and repair are never ending. With the various systems wearing out each day and the constant assault of viruses, bacteria, pollutants, parasites, of course, the reproductive system itself needs to be maintained and ready to go. All of this requires energy, and your brain and digestive system work tirelessly together, nonstop, to acquire a steady supply of food and in turn into useful nutrients. Now, the Darwinian business manager juggling all of these tasks is a product of our evolution. When it's 12 p.m. and you're starving for lunch, that is the manager responding to your empty stomach, low blood sugar, and other cues by activating the hunger circuitry in your brain. When you're fighting the flu, lethargic and running a fever, that's the manager shifting energy away from physical activity toward immune activity. When you demolish a cheesecake by yourself, it is the manager's job to direct all those calories to the systems that can use it, and then store the rest in your fat cells. The metabolic manager isn't just a metaphor or a cartoon. It's your brain, specifically your hypothalamus, a nondescript lump of neurons sitting dead center at the bottom of your brain. It's like a wad of gray chewing gum. The hypothalamus is the control center for your metabolism and a host of other housekeeping functions to keep your body alive, the business. In concert with all your brainstem, the hypothalamus senses energy coming in by monitoring the blood for factors like glucose and leptin. Leptin is a hormone secreted by your fat cells when they are storing energy from a recent meal. And neural signals from your taste buds, from your stomach, and from your small intestine, they relay information on the size and macronutrient content of your meal. Now, the hypothalamus can also sense when we are in negative energy balance, monitoring levels of a hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin is a hormone released by the stomach when it's empty. Leptin, its brother, on the other side, which decreases when fat cells are depleted, and other cues. In response, the hypothalamus can crank up our metabolism or wind it down. And it does this by controlling the activity of the thyroid gland and the production of thyroid hormone. It can also change our hunger levels, adjusting the amount of food that we need to eat to feel full. You can think of the actions of the hypothalamus like the algorithms that we interact with every day online. Google, Facebook, Instagram, and every other site that we interact with. They use hundreds of pieces of data, our age, our gender, even our location, the type of devices that we're using, and the time of day that we're using it, even our previous browsing history. They use all of this data to tailor the stories and advertisements that we then see. Now, this all happens automatically, instantaneous and unseen. The nature of the algorithm is the same for everyone, but the results of this algorithm are tailored to us individually in our particular situation. The same is true for the internal algorithm that manages our own metabolism. The variables leptin, ghrelin, blood glucose, stomach fullness, and food flavors are pretty much the same for everyone, but our immediate environment, our genetics, and past experience, now those things shape the way the system weighs each variable and how it responds from there. For example, lower leptin levels generally push the hypothalamus to activate the hunger response, lower levels of leptin. But the precise threshold at which leptin will trigger your hunger response will have a lot to do with your genes, your eating habits, and the typical levels of leptin circulating in your blood. Evolution shapes the metabolic algorithms for each species, determining the normal ranges for your BMR, which is your daily energy expenditure, your hormones, your body fat percentage, your blood glucose levels, your circulating triglycerides, and all the rest. Normal is what emerges when the hypothalamus and its evolved metabolic algorithms are able to keep things under control, managing the flow of calories in and calories out. The general term for keeping all of your systems running and stable is called homeostasis. But what's normal isn't the same for all species. For example, in one of the chapters, humans were talked about as having a faster metabolic rate than all the other apes. But we also put on body fat much more readily than those apes. That's because our hypothalamus and its metabolic algorithms have evolved. They keep a heavier foot on the gas pedal and are a bit quicker to store extra energy as fat. Chimpanzees and other apes burn energy more slowly than we do, but are more apt to burn off extra calories or convert them into actual lean tissue. Our evolutionary legacy also shapes the way that we respond to challenges, like reduced food availability or increased activity. When we are in what some people call starvation mode, the hypothalamus acts quickly. The objective is to survive the lean period to reproduce something in the future when conditions improve. Within days, the thyroid hormone, the main control hormone for our metabolic rate, plummets. BMR goes way down. As we saw in a Minnesota starvation study with the Biggest Loser contestants. If you haven't seen the Biggest Loser, they lose hundreds of pounds pretty fast in a pretty dramatic way. BMR is the amount of calories your body burns just being alive, and that goes down dramatically. If food restriction is severe and lasts for a long time, our organs will actually shrink in size. But not all organ systems are hit equally hard. We know from careful studies of bodies of victims starved to death in war and famine that the brain is spared. Now, the spleen, on the other hand, it shrinks dramatically. Our Darwinian manager is making tough decisions. It's picking winners and it's picking losers. Reserving brain function is important, but letting some of our immune functions slide, it kind of has to take the precedent. The hypothalamus controls nearly every system in the body, from stress response to reproduction, and it can manipulate specific functions. For example, humans are quick to put reproduction on the back burner when times are tough. Subjects in starvation experiments lose their interest in sex. Women often see a decline in estrogen levels, and if the food restriction is severe enough, they will stop ovulating. Putting off reproduction when times are bad, it makes good evolutionary sense in a species like ours, where our life is long and each kid costs a fortune in time and calories and other things. But in a short-lived species, delaying reproduction means you might never get the chance. That's why male mice, faced with starvation, they actually maintain two organs above all else. Their brain, like us, but also their testicles. metabolic response to increased exercise, the phenomenon we see with physically active groups like the Hadza Tribe, is less well studied, but seems to follow similar logic. With the muscles demanding a much larger share of the business's energy and fat reserves, our Darwinian managers take action to rebalance the budget. In the immediate term, hunger is increased in order to make intake to energy expenditure important to us. If high levels of daily activity persist for months or weeks or months, other changes have to be made. Other systems, including reproduction, immune function, and stress response, are suppressed, making room in the budget for a greater activity costs, like moving and surviving. Interestingly, though, these metabolic changes don't always show up in BMR where we might expect them to show up. Behavior may change as well, inducing us to rest more and fidget less without us even really noticing. We should expect these responses to follow evolutionary logic, cutting non-essential tasks first and prioritizing our long-term reproductive success. In 3 to 5 months, we will be acclimated to our new exercise regimen, whatever it is, 3 to 5 months. Daily energy expenditure will be nearly the same as before we started. Our metabolic business and its 37 trillion employees will have adjusted to the new conditions. All of the tricks our body plays to modify energy expenditure and hunger in response to the exercise and diet that it's going through. It makes it sound as though our weight should never change, right? Maintaining the same weight without really trying, that actually seems an impossible dream for most of us, but it's far more common than you think. At least it used to be. Hadza men and Hadza women, for example, are incredibly weight stable across their entire lifespan. Their body weight and their BMI hardly change from early adulthood to their old age. Can you ponder that for a moment? In the face of seasonal changes where food availability is different every year, through good years and bad years, and despite the fact that men and women in their 20s and 30s, usually with young children, work a bit harder than those of them that are older adults, that are seniors, none of their weights really change. Presumably, this sort of effortless weight management was the norm in all of our hunter-gatherer pasts. Environments in which we evolved, our bodies are perfectly capable of managing our weight by adjusting our metabolism and our hunger to suit the conditions that we're in. Even in the industrialized human zoos that we currently live in today, with unlimited delicious food always at our fingertips, our hypothalamus does an incredibly good job at matching our energy expenditure to intake. When we eat more calories than we burn, our metabolic rate increases as our body tries to make us use of that surplus of calories. When we burn more calories than we eat, hunger increases and expenditure goes down. Sure, day to day, there are some mismatches between calories in and calories out. If you record your body weight every single morning for a month, you'll see what those fluctuations are like for yourself. But over the long term, our energy balance is incredibly precise. Check this out. Today, in the grips of an obesity epidemic, the average American adult gains about a half a pound per year. A half a pound per year. An error of around 1,750 calories a year. That's only about 5 calories a day. 5 calories a day, or less than 0.2% of daily energy expenditure. In other words, without thinking much about it, we pretty much match our daily energy intake within 99.8% of our daily energy expenditure. That's crazy. Now that is a metabolic set point. So let's talk about metabolic set point. Your metabolic set point is the level of calorie expenditure at which your body tries to maintain its weight. This set point is determined by a complex interplay of hormones, neurological signals, and genetics, and can be influenced by factors such as your age, your weight, and definitely your activity level. When you consume more calories than your body needs to maintain whatever set point it's at, it's going to store the excess energy as fat. Conversely, when you consume fewer calories than your body needs to maintain its set point, it will draw upon stored energy sources such as adipose tissue in your fat stores to make up for the deficit. Changing your metabolic set point typically requires consistent and long-term changes to your diet and your physical activity patterns, which may lead you to ask and begs the question, what are some sustainable long-term examples for how I can increase my metabolic set point? Well, there are several sustainable ways to increase your metabolic set point. Number one, exercise regularly. And exercise regularly at an intensity that you can recover from. Super important. Regular physical activity can increase your muscle mass, which in turn can boost your resting metabolic rate. This does not mean that you should start doing a ton of high-intensity, soul-crushing workouts 7 days a week. That will be a signal to your body that something is happening that is putting the entire business, your body, in danger. Small changes over long periods of time seem to elicit the longest lasting results. Small changes over a long period of time. Start slow, start small, find consistency, and gradually progress. This is exactly what we're doing in the Accountability Club. Number two, build muscle mass. Muscle tissue, it burns more calories than fat, even at rest. So increasing your muscle mass can help raise your metabolic set point. Resistance training is an effective way to build muscle. This means lifting weights that are heavy enough to tell the body it needs growth. Challenge the muscle with a load that it is unable to lift, and do that to every large muscle group in the body. Do it at least 2 times per week per body part, at least 2 times per week per body part, and you'll be well on your way. Yes, it can get way more advanced than that, but it doesn't have to. The more muscle mass you have, the stronger you are, the more capable you feel, and it's a compounding snowball that rolls downhill. You move more and you do more throughout your day. Number 3, eat enough protein. Protein. Protein has the highest thermic effect of food, higher than carbohydrates and fats and alcohol, meaning that your body burns more calories digesting protein, metabolizing it, absorbing it, processing it. It takes more calories to consume protein. Aim to include a source of protein in each meal and snack that you have. All the experts that I follow generally agree, that 1 gram per pound of desired body weight is a great amount to strive for. So if you want to be 150 pounds, 150 grams of protein is a great goal to shoot for. Most people, depending on size, of course, should be shooting for at least over triple-digit protein grams, so 100 grams or more. The old scare tactics of too much protein causing nitrogen imbalance and being bad on our kidneys it's been destroyed for years now. You'd have to be eating over double 1 gram per pound and be extremely dehydrated for those dangers to start to take place. At least for most healthy adults, that is. There are always outliers, right? And of course, everyone is different in how they handle different foods. Rule number 1, you have to do what works for you, but try it and see how it has an effect on you. Number 4, stay hydrated. Dehydration can lower your metabolic rate, so make sure to drink plenty of water throughout the day. Take your body weight in pounds, divide that by 2. And then drink that many ounces every day. And you should be adequately hydrated. If you're 150 pounds divided by 2, that's 75 ounces of water to drink a day. The more you sweat, the more you move, the more water you want to consume. And you should be making sure that you get those with electrolytes. I really love the brand LMNT. Rob Wolf is a great guy that created that brand. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I've used them for a year now and I just love it. It's a little expensive, but it's just so convenient. It's easy. And if you go on the website, they actually teach you how to make your own electrolytes. You could do something like pickle juice if you wanted to too. It's just that really doesn't work for me. I don't know why. I just like the little packets I can pour into water. But stay hydrated. Super important. Number 5, get enough sleep. Sleep. Lack of sleep can disrupt hormones that regulate hunger and metabolism. So make sure that you're getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. Not just sleep quantity though. Sleep quality is important. So create a sleep routine that sends the signal to your mind and body that you're ready for bed. and then continue that routine until it's become an automatic habit. We've done many episodes on sleep. I can give you as much content as you want on sleep. If you need more help with that, go back and listen to some of our masterclass episodes or even the total wellness pillar of sleep. You'll get a lot of good stuff there. A sleep routine, a sleep sanctuary, waking up at the same time every day is super important. Get enough sleep. And number 6, avoid yo-yo dieting. Avoid yo-yo dieting. Rapid weight loss and then rapid weight gain. This is going to disrupt your metabolism. So aim for gradual and consistent changes to your diet and lifestyle over time. In most cases, extreme changes do not work well for the long-term results. You get like 95% of the time bounce back, and most of the time you gain more weight and you get on this big roller coaster. It's just so frustrating and it's really hard to dig yourself out of that hole. It's important to note that changes in your metabolic set point are typically gradual and may take time to become noticeable to you. The most sustainable approach is to make lifestyle changes that are healthy for you, but not just healthy, they're enjoyable. They have to be enjoyable for you and sustainable for the long term, something that you can see yourself doing forever. So that's why when people come to me and they say, hey, I should cut out carbs, hey, I should cut out sugar, I should never drink alcohol for the next month, it's like, that's not what this is about. Enjoyable is so important here because adherence will be the only thing that leads to consistency. Maybe not the only thing, I don't love saying that, but adherence is one of the biggest things that leads to consistency. And as all of us on the Living the Dream team know, long-term consistency is where we're going to find the results that we're looking for. Cool. Next, I wanted to touch on a really fun YouTube video that I watched called 13 Steps to Stay Under 8% Body Fat All Year Round. And this was from the popular YouTube star Thomas DeLauer. Now, most of us, we do not need to be under 8% body fat, and especially not all year round. But I liked these steps. I thought these steps and tips were pretty helpful for those of us that were looking to improve from good to great. So if this is you, if you're like at the very end of your journey and you're trying to chip away at that nice single digit body fat or right in the low teens, then these might be for you. So let's see what you think. 13 steps to stay under 8% body fat all year round. Number 1, walk a minimum of 10,000 steps a day. At the end of the week, a minimum of 70,000 steps total. If he falls short on one day, he makes up for it on another day. So this is pretty much just talking about his non-exercise activity, his NEAT. Increasing NEAT, making sure that it's at least 10,000 steps a day, or at least on average 10,000 steps a day. At the end of his week, he wants to have 70,000 or more. Number 2, he doesn't eat past 7 p.m. This prevents him from binging on snacks at night because he definitely craves snacks late at night. It gets worse at night, so just having that cutoff is really important for him. Occasionally, he will have a lean protein or a Greek yogurt or a protein shake before bed if he's having trouble sleeping, or if he's really short on protein goal for the day, or he's just having these uncontrollable cravings. So he'll eat some lean protein or some nice absorbable protein late at night if he does have anything past 7, which he tries not to. Number 3, he actually watches the mirror closely. So his strategy for calorie intake is a very small bulk, and he just is in a small bulk over time. Once that bulk shows a certain amount of body fat in the mirror, he will slowly cut away. So he's going to slowly increase the amount of food he's eating until he starts to see a little bit of body fat accumulate on his body. And he was very adamant about describing that this is only fat that he could really tell was there. This is how minute of a detail it was. Essentially, when he sees the fat that he thinks he needs to lose, then once he sees it, he'll do a little cut and he'll cut his calories. And he calls this a micro scale bulk and cut. He also said that this strategy works for best for when you're already lean and you can see the changes more easily in your body. For those of you that may not be lean yet, watching the mirror, taking progress photos, or measuring inches, it still could be a great strategy for seeing small changes in the body. Just you might not be able to use this strategy. His strategy for cutting is to pull the easiest lever, which would be his fat intake. Now, he eats really healthy fats. These fats aren't like fats that you think of in your head when you think of fats. He's talking about avocados, nuts, olive oil, that type of food. But since fats have the highest calorie content per gram, more than carbs, more than proteins, he finds it easiest that when he wants to drop his body fat percentage by 1 or 2%. He just drops his fat intake so that it's the easiest lever to pull for him. Number 4, for his workouts, he does full body workouts, training upper body and lower body together. He uses his full body for a lot of reasons. This is for glycemic control, which means that he's able to control the high carbohydrate foods that he may tend to eat. It's for blood glucose control. So when he eats foods, how his body is able to get that blood sugar cleared. And it's for maximum fat utilization throughout the day. So he does full body workouts separated by some rest days. And that seems to help him with all those things. Number 5, for his nutrition, he prioritizes protein over everything. There we go. Again, protein. Protein is king. When in doubt, protein it out. If you're at the airport and hungry, don't go for fatty or high carb snacks. Go for protein. He says he aims for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Yep, there it is again. So if he weighed 180 pounds, he shoots for 180 grams of protein. Number 6, he also rotates his fasting schedule. So 3 times a week, he does early time-restricted feeding. Early time-restricted feeding, where he stops eating around 4 p.m. and he has an early dinner, and maybe he'll have some tea while his family has dinner. Then the next week, he does the opposite. 3 times a week, he skips breakfast. He does this so that he's never adapting to one thing. With this strategy, it's an easy way to control calories because he's eating in a shorter eating window, and it's an easy way to control his glycemic response. Number 7, he does 60 to 90 days of what he calls Mediterranean-ish keto. And then he does 60 to 90 days where he's Mediterranean-ish not keto, meaning he adopts a Mediterranean principle, lots of olive oil, good healthy fats, lean meats, fiber, fish, shellfish, clams, mussels, and then lots of veggies. The only difference is when he's not on keto, he has legumes, lentils, and things like that when he's not on keto. And then he throws in all those healthy fats when he is on keto. Number 8, he eats a lot of berries. And he was very adamant to say a lot of berries. Whether on or off keto, he eats berries. Obviously more when he's not. And he likes to time his berries around his workouts. So they keep his brain healthy, they keep him full, they keep him from binging on other not so healthy food items, they give him the fiber he needs, and that's great. So that moves us into number 9, where he loves fiber. Fiber, way more than the average person, he said. It keeps him full, and he keeps his digestive system working well. It helps his microbiome, and he honestly feels like it helps his brain too. So lots of fiber. Number 10, he cycles from high fat to low fat. This seems to condition his body to know how to utilize fats. Once he gets his body used to that, and then he wants to cut, he cuts his fats and substitutes for protein. So he cuts his fats down and substitutes for protein, trying to keep calories about the same. So you're going to have to increase your protein a little bit more. If you're going to keep calories the same, cutting fats, you're going to have to increase that protein a little bit more because fats have about double the calories that protein does. He coined this term. It's called fat surging. If you want to look into it more, he did a bunch of videos on it. It's called fat surging. Number 11, he doesn't eat a lot of nuts. Not because nuts are bad, because they're actually wonderful, healthy foods, but because they are just so dang delicious and it's so easy to overconsume. No amount of willpower can keep you from turning 1 serving of nuts into 5 handfuls. He says macadamia nuts are a little different story. But for full disclosure, he does work with a macadamia nut company. So he loves macadamia nuts. He works with a macadamia nut company. He says he's all about the macadamia nuts. Number 12, he prioritizes recovery. If he's not moving well, he can't burn calories. And when you crush your body and you're out for days because you crushed your body and you're moving less and you're sore and you can't do what you normally do, then your energy expenditure is diminished the following days. Recovering over intensity is so important. Intensity is important, but recovery is more important. Sauna, stretching, ice bath, active recovery like walking, cycling, or slow jogging. Those are his most favorite forms of active recovery. Sauna, stretching, ice bath, walking, cycling, jogging. And number 13, he eats a lot of eggs. Yes, all of the eggs. They have the protein, they have the choline, they have healthy fats, saturated and monosaturated. Eggs are nature's multivitamin and definitely a superfood. And they got politicized and for some reason they had got such a bad name. Whoever was the eggs PR manager needs to be fired because they did a terrible job. Eggs need to come back. This is very interesting, right? What did you learn from those 13 things? What did you agree with? What do you think he got wrong or missed? I would love to know what your thoughts are. Lastly, let's talk about one of my favorite hormone experts, Dan Garner. This guy is one of the smartest professionals that I've ever listened to when it comes to the realm of blood work and hormones. He shared his philosophy on how motivation and willpower are just not the best ways to chase your health goals. Let's hear what he thinks are the best character traits that will allow you to achieve the things that you really want out of life. Now, I don't know if I 100% agree with all of the things that he said and how he said it, but it was powerful enough to make me listen to it multiple times, and I just wanted to share it to see what you guys think. Dan Garner was asked why using motivation and willpower is mostly BS and why being consistent and developing discipline in all areas of life are more important. The question was, why is working on your character more important than being motivated? And he answered, quote, "Just the idea of needing to be motivated to do anything shows how weak your mindset really is. Getting things done should be logical. Becoming a better you should be logical. The fact that you need to listen to a Tony Robbins speech anytime you want to do something that's actually good for you, well, why wouldn't you just want to do something that's good for you? Because it is good for you, right? Because that's the person that you want to be. And that would give yourself more self-respect, more confidence. You know that it's something that you already need to do. So using something that's external to be able to support that seems very weak to support that. And that's just a tough conversation that you need to have with yourself. Second, it is individual characteristic traits that allow people to be successful across multiple domains. Like a lot of people look for a recipe for success, when really they should be looking to develop their character traits. Because if you take a guy like Joe Rogan, for example, Joe Rogan is a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Eddie Bravo. He has the biggest podcast in history. He is also a touring professional comedian. He's been on TV. He's a legendary UFC commentator. These are a lot of different skills at a world-class level. And it's all from the same person. Why? And when people are seeking recipes of success in whatever category, what they should be really chasing are character traits, because things like discipline, preparation, delayed gratification, these are the characteristic qualities that will allow you to be a master at whatever it is that you want to do. And they will allow you to execute the things that you want to execute in the absence of motivation, which we all know will inevitably happen. So forget motivation. Getting things done is logical. And when you get these things done, they allow you to develop the character traits that allow you to be the successful person in the long term, no matter what route you choose to go in. Unquote. Whoa, powerful. Now, what I love about what Dan is saying here is he's talking about how it's so easy to get stuck watching motivational videos, or depending on seeing a quote roll on your social media feed, or whatever the external case may be, when instead, if you just focused on improving a few of the more important characteristic traits, it won't matter if you have motivation or willpower or any of that stuff as it comes and goes. You're going to become a person that uses those characteristic traits that you can depend on in whatever it is that you want to do. His 3 characteristic traits that he said were discipline, preparation, and delayed gratification. Be disciplined in whatever it is that you're going to do. When you tell yourself that you're going to do something, do it. Every time you don't follow through with something that you said that you were going to do, you lose self-confidence in yourself, even if it's subconsciously. You stop trusting yourself to a certain level. And I can't think of anything good that comes from that. Be prepared. Be prepared for whatever it is that you're going to do. Have a game plan. Create a schedule, an outline path of just how you want your task to look or your project to look or your next day to look, what would be the best case scenario? What would be the troubleshooting processes if things don't go as planned? Cliche but true, the old quote, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And then lastly, delayed gratification. Man, it is possible for you nowadays to have zero delayed gratification and still get whatever you want whenever you want it. But for me, I see a huge cost in that. Any person can get whatever they want, when they want it, however they want it, and it takes no effort. Now, it takes effort. It takes someone who can see further down the road the journey to delay all of that we're able to access, especially when in the moment, it's just so hard to see why you would want delayed gratification. What good could delayed gratification come from? I would also add to that list, for me, on top of discipline, preparation, delayed gratification, I would also add to that list leaning into challenge. Do the hard thing. Just like not following through with what you said you wanted to do, how that creates distrust in yourself. On the other side of things, doing hard things, it builds this inner confidence in yourself. It strengthens this inner warrior in you that takes on any obstacle that you're faced with. This aspect of mentality is a skill that is required to be honed, strengthened, and constantly worked on in order for you to accomplish extraordinary things. Kobe Bryant called this the Mamba mentality. Stoics call it durable mindset. Monks and priests and all sorts of other figures of wisdom, they have their names for it too. But whatever you call it, I absolutely love the idea of creating the ideal person that you want to become by working on, practicing, and perfecting certain characteristics that you find important. It is something that is within our grasp to start at a level and to build towards something great. It is something that you can't buy. You can't purchase these traits. You have to be this person for long periods of time in order to become and have that trait. You have to work on it. You have to earn it, and it's for the rest of your life. That's something pretty cool and powerful. So if you were to think about your life right now, and then think about your dream life, what characteristics do you want to work on? Or do you want to create to be the highest level of person that you could possibly become to get to that dream life? Do your current characteristics align with what that looks like? Do your characteristics align with Dan's or mine? Are they different? What would you add? Go ahead and take a screenshot of this episode and post on your stories and write one characteristic or more that would make you get to your dream life or that you put into your life right now. Tag me. I'd love to hear about it. And that's it, my friends, for this week's episode. Each week, we're going to focus on sharing information that will help you with your health, fitness, and wellness journey. Share the knowledge that you gained with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed this content, it helps a ton if you could post on your social media stories a screenshot of this episode with one takeaway that you learned, and make sure that you tag me and share your journey. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD. And let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. Tell us how you used the analogy of your body being a business and using up energy like a business to help you hit your goals. How you have manipulated or struggled with your body's set point. Let us know if you've used other strategies to get your body fat percentage low. And definitely let us know your thoughts on Dan Garner's philosophy when it comes to working on characteristic traits. We'd love to hear your input. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that will help your Living the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I'll be right here with you working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.